Right. And you talk about authenticity here in truth number five. You speak about, speak up and tell the truth, right?
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of people feel are a little fearful of communicating their truth because of the conflict that may come from the truth. But it's better
Yes.
to step into the conflict and communicate that. Is a part of that also how you communicate your truth?
100%. So first I will say is that people avoid the truth all the time because they're afraid of what it might uncover.
Yeah.
They're afraid of the other person's reaction. They're afraid that they're not going to be enough for the other person if they tell the truth. Because sometimes telling the truth is, I'm just going to start to, I'm going to stop pretending to be who I always thought you wanted me to be.
Mm,
And that's not the other person, that's me. I'm so used to doing that. Yes, communication is an art form. I really do believe that.
yeah.
And you don't have to be perfect, but there are certain principles that you need to follow if you want to have better relationships and more effective communication. And one is leading with love. So instead of going into the conversation with you statements, you do this, you do that,
Yeah.
blame, and you go more to I statements
Yeah.
and we statements. Um, One is also being, I think directness is very important. So
Mhm.
rather than going into like a whole story about whatever it is that you're going to say, you want to lead with love, but also be direct in what it is that you're going to say as best as you can. Vulnerability. So sometimes, many people, especially if they're experiencing a lot of emotion, don't have the words to articulately describe what it is that they're feeling. So sometimes you just have to say, I'm feeling really overwhelmed,
Yeah.
or I'm feeling all this tightness in my chest. I just need to breathe. I just need a moment. Believe it or not, that's actually very artful and very skilled communication because when you convey that, you are immediately speaking to the human that's in the other person because everyone can relate to that feeling. And it brings compassion out, it brings empathy out in a person.
Right.
So so again, there's certain principles that if we follow in communication will make our communication much more effectively. So it's not about just like telling the truth and being blunt and not caring about the other person. It's really just about no more avoiding the truth and no more um avoiding your own truth, because telling the truth in a relationship begins with telling the truth to ourselves,
Mm,
because most of the time we're lying to ourselves.
yes.
And so it's part of that chapter is really helping the person, the listener, or the reader, I should say. I'm so used to podcasting, the reader to really think about how they might be not honoring themselves inside of a
Yeah.
relationship or in their lives. Yeah.
Yeah. That communication of truth has to come from a place of love, compassion, like a higher level of consciousness and not an
Yeah.
attacking way. It reminds me of like
Yeah.
an episode on The Office with Jim and Pam where they start going to therapy and they start every sentence with, to speak my truth, I feel you are doing this wrong. And the other,
That's
well, to
really funny.
speak my truth, and they go back and forth. And then their
Yeah.
coworker thinks they're high.
Uh-huh.
uh,
Uh-huh.
but,
But
but,
you and by the way, you don't want to say my truth is. You don't want to do that. You just
right.
want to say, I might be, this might be a story that I'm making up. But, the story in my head is blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah, and leave that openness to communication both ways. That's not just attacking, and one side is the true truth, because everyone has their own truths to the relationship also, and have to find
Yes.
that.
Yes, and it's also about making sure the other person understands. So it's very useful for the other person to say, okay, so what I heard you say is this, so that you don't have to agree. You don't have to agree,
Hmm.
but you do have to leave that conversation with the understanding that the two of you actually comprehended what the other one said.